Hey everyone, and if you're anything like me, you're already feeling the holiday spirit. The leaves are changing, the air is getting crisp, and the stores are already decked out for Halloween. But here's the thing. This year, getting ready for the holidays might come with a few extra challenges, especially when it comes to your grocery list. We're talking about potential shortages of some pretty essential grocery items, and I'm not talking about niche stuff. I'm talking about things you use every single day, especially around the holiday season when everyone's cooking up a storm. Think flour for those cookies, sugar for those pies, even canned goods and cooking oil. These are things that could be harder to find or more expensive as we get closer to December. Now, I'm not saying this to scare anyone. This video is all about being prepared. We're going to go through the top 8 grocery items that are expected to be in high demand and potentially short supply before the year ends. I'll break down exactly why these items are at risk and, more importantly, what you can do to make sure you're stocked up and ready to go for the holidays. So, let's jump right in. Alright, kicking things off with a big one, flour. Now, you might think flour is pretty basic, and you're right, it is. But that's exactly why it's at the top of the list. See, everyone uses flour, especially during the holidays. Christmas cookies, pies, those delicious dinner rolls, they all need flour. And when you have a surge in demand like that, combined with the fact that a lot of people are still baking more at home since the pandemic, well, you've got a recipe for potential shortages. On top of that, we've got to factor in things like weather impacting wheat crops and, of course, those always fun supply chain issues we've been hearing about. All of this adds up to flour potentially being a hot commodity as we head into the holiday season. Now, I'm not saying you need to go out and buy a year's supply of flour, but if you're planning on doing any baking this holiday season, it might not be a bad idea to grab an extra bag or two the next time you're at the store. That way you'll be prepared and won't have to stress about finding it later. Next up, let's talk about sugar. And look, I get it, we're all trying to be a little healthier these days. But let's be real, the holidays are all about indulging a little bit. And whether it's those aforementioned cookies and pies or a festive holiday cocktail, chances are you're going to be using a fair amount of sugar in the coming months. And guess what? Just like with flour, increased demand can put a strain on supply. We saw this happen a couple of years ago, and it wouldn't be surprising to see it happen again, especially when you factor in that sugar production can be affected by things like weather patterns and, you guessed it, those pesky supply chain issues. So, what's the solution? Well, just like with flour, it's all about being prepared. If you know you're going to be baking or cooking with sugar, grab an extra bag or two now. You can even get creative and look for sales or buy in bulk to save a little money. Now, let's move on to something that might not scream holiday cheer, but is absolutely essential for a lot of people, especially during the winter months, canned goods. We're talking about things like canned vegetables, soups, fruits, even things like beans and tuna. Basically, anything that's shelf-stable and can be used in a pinch. Here's the thing about canned goods. They're incredibly convenient. They last forever, they're relatively inexpensive, and they can be used in countless recipes. And when you combine that convenience with the fact that people tend to cook more at home during the colder months, you can see why demand for canned goods goes up this time of year. Now, add in potential transportation delays due to things like winter weather, and it's easy to see how some of your favorite canned goods might be harder to find or more expensive as we get closer to the holidays. So do yourself a favor and stock up now while the selection is good and the prices are reasonable. Chapter 4. Cooking oil, the unsung hero of holiday meals. Alright, let's talk about another essential that you might not think about until you're standing in the aisle, completely out cooking oil. Whether you're frying latkes, roasting vegetables, or baking up a storm, chances are you're going to be using a fair amount of oil during the holiday season. And just like with the other items on this list, increased demand combined with potential supply chain issues means that cooking oil might be another item that's harder to come by as we get closer to the holidays. And let's be real, no one wants to be caught in a situation where they're trying to make their grandma's famous latkes and they realize they're fresh out of oil. So what's the solution? Simple, stock up now. Grab an extra bottle or two of your go-to cooking oil next time you're at the store and avoid that last-minute stress. Trust me, your future self will thank you. Chapter 5. Butter up. This holiday baking staple could be in short supply. Alright, let's talk about a true holiday baking essential, butter. From those flaky pie crusts to those melt-in-your-mouth cookies, butter is a key ingredient in so many holiday treats. And just like with everything else on this list, when demand goes up, supply can sometimes struggle to keep up. Now add in the fact that butter production can be affected by things like weather patterns impacting milk production, and you've got a recipe for potential shortages. And let's be real, no one wants to be scraping the bottom of the butter dish, desperately trying to stretch it out for one more batch of cookies. So what's the solution? You guessed it, stock up. Grab an extra stick or two of butter next time you're at the store. You can even freeze butter, so you don't have to worry about it going bad. That way, you'll be prepared to bake to your heart's content all season long. Alright, let's talk about another breakfast staple that plays a surprisingly important role in holiday baking: eggs. From those rich and custardy eggnogs to those light-as-air meringues, eggs are essential for achieving that perfect holiday texture. And just like with everything else on this list, when demand goes up, supply can sometimes struggle to keep up. Now add in the fact that egg production can be affected by things like seasonal changes, and, you guessed it, those ever-present supply chain issues, and you've got a recipe for potential shortages. And let's be real, no one wants to be scrambling, pun intended, to find eggs at the last minute when they're trying to whip up a batch of holiday cookies. So what's the solution? You guessed it, stock up. Grab an extra dozen or two of eggs next time you're at the store. Remember, eggs have a surprisingly long shelf life, so you don't have to worry about them going bad anytime soon. That way, you'll be prepared to bake to your heart's content all season long. Alright, let's talk about the main event: meat. Whether you're a fan of a classic roast turkey, a juicy ham, or a succulent prime rib, meat often takes center stage at holiday meals. And just like with everything else on this list, when demand goes up, supply can sometimes struggle to keep up. Now, add in the fact that meat production can be affected by things like seasonal changes in grazing patterns, transportation logistics, and, you guessed it, those ever-present supply chain issues, and you've got a recipe for potential shortages. And let's be real, no one wants to be left scrambling for a last-minute turkey or ham when they're trying to put together a holiday feast. So, what's the solution? You guessed it, plan ahead. If you know you'll be serving meat at your holiday gathering, consider pre-ordering from your local butcher or grocery store. Many places offer this service to ensure you get the cut and size you need. Plus, you can often score better prices by ordering early. Alright, let's talk about the secret ingredient that takes holiday cooking from bland to bam spices. From the warm and inviting aroma of cinnamon and nutmeg to the savory depth of sage and rosemary, spices are essential for achieving that perfect holiday flavor. And just like with everything else on this list, when demand goes up, supply can sometimes struggle to keep up. Now, add in the fact that spice production can be affected by things like weather patterns impacting growing regions, global shipping logistics, and, you guessed it, those ever-present supply chain issues. And you've got a recipe for potential shortages. And let's be real, no one wants to be caught without that essential pinch of nutmeg when they're trying to perfect their grandma's famous pumpkin pie. So, what's the solution? You guessed it, stock up early. Take a look at your go-to holiday recipes and make a list of the spices you'll need. Then, head to the store and grab those spices now while the selection is good. Spices have a long shelf life, so you can buy them now and rest assured that they'll be ready to go when you are. So there you have it, folks. 8 essential grocery items that could be harder to find or more expensive as we head into the holiday season. But remember, this isn't about panicking, it's about being prepared. By taking a little time now to stock up on these essentials, you can avoid the last-minute stress and ensure that your holiday season is merry and bright. Remember, a little planning goes a long way, especially during this time of year. So, next time you're at the grocery store, take a look at your pantry staples and consider grabbing an extra item or two. Trust me, your future self will thank you. Thanks for watching, everyone. Don't forget to hit that like button if you found this video helpful, subscribe for more tips and tricks, and hit that notification bell so you never miss an upload. And most importantly, let me know in the comments down below how you're preparing for the holiday season. What are your must-have pantry staples?